Hey guys, welcome to Redneck Off the Range, and we are getting into an exciting time of year for me, and that is deer season. Now, we're already in bow season, I think. I don't really keep track of bow season because I don't bow hunt. I'm not very good with a bow, and I don't have a crossbow, so I'm not big into bow hunting, but I am into gun hunting and muzzleloader hunting, pistol hunting, anything that has to do with a gun. I generally like to hunt deer and squirrels and doves and whatever. But we're getting into deer season, rifle season here in just a couple of weeks, and I am getting ready, getting the farm ready for deer season. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put up these game cameras, and I probably should have put these game cameras up a little while back, but we're getting to it now. So I got some new batteries, I got some SD cards, and we're just gonna put them up. Now I have two of them. They're Moultrie brand, and they've been outside for like years. We keep them up pretty much year round, but they don't always take pictures. We don't always keep the SD cards in them. And so when I took them off of the pole, at least this one, the strap started to like disintegrate off the end. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to get some new straps for these, but probably definitely next year. But hopefully we can actually get these up. So I'm just gonna take, swap the batteries out, put the new SD cards in, and we'll set them up. Right, so I did manage to get the cameras on these two telephone poles. I got one on this one on the one up there. Not sure about this one though, because I did have to rig up a strap using an old ratchet strap because one of the straps actually just kind of disintegrated, and yeah, I need to get some new straps for these. But I have one here and one up there. This driveway is a very high traffic deer area, as is this field here. So this is our old angle blade here, and last, I don't know, a couple weeks or so, we were here, down there eating, or not eating, but cooking, and we saw some deer come up through here across the driveway by this angle blade, and then down through that field, and then they came back. And we were, and they went all the way down almost to the barn, and they weren't skittish at all, because we were just kind of standing there talking to each other, and they didn't run away. So I decided to put the camera facing this way this year, because usually I have it facing the other way, and so I'm just gonna see what it picks up, and hopefully the strap holds and it doesn't fall to the ground. So we'll see. But I do have one other project that I do need to take care of this weekend. So the other thing I have to take care of this weekend is I need to mark the property line. And if I never told you guys before, this property is a landlocked piece of property, so we have a neighbor on all four sides of the property. The property up there is our friends, they're our buddies, they're like family to us, so we're not worried about them. The property line on the other side of the lake over there, and then on this side of the property here, there's a fence line on those two sides of the property, and honestly we've never had any problems with those neighbors. Nobody's ever come over the fence and done anything. But this property over here, there is no fence line. Get out of the sun here. There is no fence line. There's a few property stakes, and last year we put some no trespassing signs on the stakes, and we had some purple spray paint, so we painted a bunch of the trees. And I just want to go through right now and see how many of the signs are up. I know at least one of them is down because it just kind of ripped. So we need to replace that one, and we're just going to see how many more signs need to be replaced, and just repaint the trees, because these people here, they're fairly new. They've been here, I don't know, 3-4 years now, and they're a little sketchy. Even the people before them, we had problems with them coming onto our land, and like we found 20 gauge shotgun shells out in the middle of the field, and nobody in our family hunts with 20 gauge. The neighbor up there, they don't hunt with 20 gauge, so it's probably them. But we have no actual proof that it was them, but that was the people before them. And then these people here, they have four-wheeler trails that literally run right next to the property line, and there's nothing physically keeping them from coming over onto our property. So I just want to, for a legal standpoint, put up some purple paint and some signs and make sure that we are legally in the clear if somebody decides they're going to come over here, hurt themselves, and try to sue us, because clearly it says no trespassing. And like I said before, these two properties over here, they have a fence line, and we never had any problems with them, but maybe in the future we'll go and put just a few signs up, maybe some spray paint. Not that I have any suspicions that they're going to come over here and do anything, but just to be safe. And of course, them up there, they're never going to sue us. They're like our family. They help take care of the property, we help them with their things, so we're not worried about that. So anyway, let's get started. So like I said, we do have this one no trespassing sign that's broken at the top here, and I just decided to keep it here and not take it down until we get a new sign, just because it's still technically out here and posted, but it's just down on the ground. But as you can see here, we've put a little note in that little freehand, free riding space that just says that, if you shoot a deer and it comes over here, we have no problem with you coming over here. Just check with the neighbors first. We have no problem with that. Not that it's going to do anything. They're probably just going to walk over here anyway, but it's posted on the sign, and that's that. So anyway, this is the first property stake. There is one up there in the corner, so the property line kind of goes diagonal from the barn here. It goes from there, and then from right here it literally goes into the woods and up that way, and then up to basically where the gate is, and then goes over this way. So the gate's over here, but there's basically a line that goes from the gate all the way into the woods, and then there's a corner over here deep into the woods, and then it comes this way to this stake here, and then there's another stake over there in the corner. So we're going to start with what's available to see out in the open, and then we're going to go into the woods. So as you can see here, I have the Krylon No Hunting purple spray paint, and then I got a tree here and then a tree there, which are both on our property. All these trees that I'm painting are technically on our property, just a few feet in. These ones are a little bit further in because the property line is basically right in this area here. But we're just gonna go over the spots that I spray painted last year and make sure they're nice and bright. Now it is a little bit windy day, so hopefully I can get it painted without covering myself in purple. This one here. It's gonna be a little bit difficult this year. Once we get in the woods, it won't be so bad. So there's a little nook over here, so this area here is their property and this area here is our property. I just get a couple of trees in here, which is a little difficult to get to because it's so thick in here. So alright, sorry I didn't record that, but it's just so thick through there to actually carry a backpack and a camera, so I had to toss them to the side for a second. But I only do a couple of trees in there anyway because it's so thick and really nobody's gonna go through that thick area. But I just, there's an old fence line in here. It's in some areas it is up and it does actually kind of keep people out, but in most of the areas it doesn't exist really. Like right through here, obviously there's no fence through here. Like somebody at some point cut it out, I don't know why, but in the woods there is a fence line. It's not exactly where the property line is. It's just kind of the old property line, and I just always make sure that my paint is on our side of both that fence line and on any property stakes that are near enough to tell where the actual property line is. And if you don't know how to, like if you've never marked a property line before, you know, it's basically you just take purple spray paint, you do like one line, vertically. I kind of make it a little bit thicker so it's more visible than just a thin little line. And it has to be so many inches high and has to be like every 100 feet or less. So basically, if it's at eye level and it's at least, 8-10 inches tall, and it's perfectly visible, I think you're in the clear. So now into the woods. So the hardest part during this whole process is trying to find your old marks. That is actually an old mark on that tree over there. It's kind of hard to see, but I decided to put one on this tree here just because the bark is lighter and the purple actually shows better on it, and they're both still on our property still. So I always make sure that the trees that I mark are on our property for several feet just to be safe. So I did find the old fence line, and I did find several of my old marks. Just going over them, they are still pretty bright, but just putting a little fresh spray paint over them and putting a few extras through just to be safe. Now, this isn't an exact science, making sure that we're on our property, but generally, like I said, I try to keep on this side of the fence line. But if I do end up being like, a foot or two that way, I don't know if anybody's even going to notice or care. Just because this isn't even the actual property line, and they didn't put enough stakes in here to make sure, like they should have put them every 100 feet or so, but they didn't. They made them like every 200 yards or something. I don't know, it's kind of crazy, but eventually we may put a few more T-posts in here and paint them, put signs on them, but yeah, for now it's just the spray paint. Alright, made it to the first sign and seems to be okay. Got some marks here and going up there. And from this sign it goes basically across the creek and it's going to go up the hill a bit. And then there should be 2 more signs up there. And then just got to go from there over to the gate. So if you can see right here, that's our last no trespassing sign that's up on our property. And this trail right here is that 4-wheeler trail I was talking about. So I like to make sure that my marks are very, very heavy through here. I got one here, I put a couple back there, and I just want to make sure that it is obvious that this is our property and this is their property. Not really sure what that little hornet looking thing is, but I don't like the look of that. I don't think it's one of those murder hornets though. Oh man, finally out of the woods. All other signs were up and perfectly fine, so just have to get the one sign and then maybe get a few extra, maybe put a couple on the corners of the property. As you can see, I ended up coming down the woods quite a bit down from the fence, the gate up there. It's because it's really thick over there. So once I got to the top of where I was done marking, I had to come back this way because there's no way you can walk through some of those areas. But yeah, on to the next task. Okay, just got done eating lunch, and now what I want to do is I want to walk around the other 3 sides of the property, because eventually we want to cut a trail in here that just kind of runs around the property that we could either walk or drive a 4-wheeler or maybe even a golf cart or something. And so I just kind of want to walk and see if I can figure out where the property line is going this way until I can find the fence lines for the other 2 property lines, and just kind of get an idea on where this trail is going to run, because that's going to be one of next year's projects. So far the property line is fairly obvious because my neighbor up here likes to collect scrap metal and stuff, and he just kind of lines his property with it, so fairly obvious up here. Alright, so this area that I'm in right now is this dry creek bed. This comes down the property in the corner and goes down the hill into the corner of the lake. So this is probably the biggest problem area that we're going to come across when making this trail, is finding an appropriate spot to actually make a trail that goes across here, because in certain areas this is pretty steep, either on one side or the other, or both, just depending on where you are on the hill. So we're gonna have to figure that out, because it might be problematic trying to get across here with a certain type of vehicle. So we'll have to figure that out, but for now on I'll just keep walking. Alright, so I made it to the fence line on the other side of the lake. I think I lied before though, because I think this down here, well, you know, it's not so bad up here, but you know, as you go down the hill, I think that is the problem area I was talking about. I guess I never realized that there's two dry creek beds on this side of the property. I never knew that before, so I guess we'll have to figure it out. And like I said before, there's not a fence line on the top side of the property up here, so, and I couldn't really find a definite fence line walking through here, so I guess I'll have to ask my neighbor where about the actual property line is. That way I don't make a trail coming up onto his property. But I don't think it'll be too terribly hard to make a trail coming over to here, and then coming from the other side of the lake over to this portion. I don't think that's going to be too terrible either, so it's just going to take a lot of time, because this is a lot of land up here. This is probably at least 15 acres worth of woods on the back side of the backside of the field and the backside of the lake. So that's a lot of small trees to cut down. Not going to cut down anything big, just going to cut down, like, you know, trees like that, and you know, all these smaller trees, maybe up to 5 inches thick. Just cut them up with a chainsaw and cut all the small stuff out. Okay, well, I actually walked up the hill a ways and actually did find a fence line up here. Now, I don't think this fence line goes all the way to our property. Well, I'm on our property, not all the way to the gate is what I meant, but because I'm pretty sure I've walked through here before, and there's not a fence once you get closer to the gate. But it is nice to know that there is at least some sort of fence line up here. It might go to like where his house is, and then it might stop right about there. But I guess I'll walk back that way and see what I can find, because I know if I walk the other way, I can just walk a fence line all the way to that corner over there, and then a fence line all the way down to the levee of the lake. So let's walk this way. So as you can see here, here's an old fence line, and there's a new fence line right there. So just like over there, they're just a few feet apart, and I'm sure it's further apart in certain areas, but at least I know that there is some form of line that I can follow. Need a ride to school? So if you look here, these big pipes on our side of this fence, so I'm thinking this fence is just like a horse pasture, and it doesn't actually outline the property, so it probably stops right over here somewhere, because there's the barn. So I'm guessing our property is still a little bit more this direction. So but I can always ask him. As you can see, we've put some fencing on a few of our smaller trees, and a couple over there, because the deer like to tear them up with their antlers, and that's not cool, because I want several of these trees to survive and potentially provide shade, you know, 10, 15, 20 years in the future. So we had to protect them. Alright, so the next order of business is making sure my guns are sighted in and ready to go for deer season. So the guns that I'm going to be using this year are my Mossberg MVP Predator rifle. I think that's what this model is, and it is a .308, And then I have my Ruger Blackhawk right here that's in 41 Magnum. Now I have shot this 308 several years back, and I do have kind of an idea of where it hits. I have not fired the 41 Magnum yet, so I just kind of want to get both of them out, get a feel for them, and see if I think they're going to be good enough for deer season. I forgot my target stand this weekend, so I'm going to have to get a bit creative with my targets. Alright, and there's the final results of me shooting my two guns. I put 12 rounds through the 41 Magnum and 4 rounds through the 308. 41 Magnum, like I said, this is my first time shooting it, and I was shooting it off of a shooting stick, which is a little awkward to begin with, so I didn't get too many rounds on target, but again, you know, practice makes perfect here. And of course I did flinch a couple of times because I'm not used to shooting such a powerful gun. But I did get 5 of the 12 rounds on the paper. The very first one was actually my best round, which is right next to the bullseye. But yeah, I put 12 rounds through that, and then 4 rounds through the 308. 2 of those rounds being right next to each other right there. 1 round being low, and then I don't know where the other round went. I guess I flinched. Or again, like I said earlier, the shooting stick, it's a little awkward to shoot with, especially the position that I was shooting with, which was kind of like cockeyed, you know, off of the golf cart. So a little understandable on why I might miss a time or two. But yeah, so we'll probably put a few more rounds through it and then call it a day. Alright, and there's the last 4 shots that I took, and all 4 of these actually made it on the paper. I did these ones standing, so out of 8 shots, I made 7 of them on the paper, and 6 of them are within the green. And so for shooting 8 rounds off a shooting stick, I think that's pretty good, because really shooting sticks are only designed to, you know, take a couple of shots at a time. So to actually like use it as a practice method and shoot 4 rounds at a time, that's, you know, getting this many rounds within the green is good in my book, because, you know, I'm not an expert marksman, I'm just an amateur deer hunter. So I think that at that range, shooting 1 or 2 shots off a shooting stick would be adequate. You know, I'm an adequate enough shooter to hit a deer at that range. So anyway, on to the next thing I need to do today. So everyone knows that every good hunter needs a hunting dog. And every good hunting dog needs a hunting vest. Not sure if he knows what to think about it. By the way, I'm not actually going to be hunting with my German Shepherd mix. It's not even actually legal, but he does need to come with me this year just because there's nobody else to watch him. So he needs a hunting vest because I don't want him to get shot. Alright, the only other thing I was going to do this weekend was put up my hunting blind, and I'm just going to do that tomorrow right before I leave, so I'm not going to video it. But I thought I would show off what it is, and it's this, I think it's a 2-man hunting blind, you know, 2-man. To me it's just a 1-man, but it's a pretty nice, spacious hunting blind. It folds up really nice in this little bag here, and it's from Radar. I got it off of Amazon, so it's a pretty nice hunting blind. But anyway, that's tomorrow's project, so subscribe to my channel, and until next time, be safe.